Sorry.
Good job. So I just want to put all that there as a foundation. That said, we will move into the first application. There are two from Race Day Events. The first one is the Lake Monona 20K and 5K, and I see Ryan is on here. And I'll give you the opportunity to provide any kind of color that you'd like.
Yes, thank you for having me. Obviously, Lake Monona was just a week and a half ago. Went really well. We actually saw about 35% increase in participation this year, almost back to 2019 numbers. We did almost double our marketing budget this year. One, kind of on a hope and a prayer you guys will help us out, and two, just to really see what it can do and see if it has any benefit to us. As we saw, it did a really good job. We're already in the planning stages for the 2024 event and are hoping to hit a record number for 2024 and beat that 2019. We are waiting. I was hoping to have our results from the survey back to let you guys know how many people actually did commit to hotels, specifically in Monona. I do know that it was a decent amount just by the questioning going in ahead of time. And following last year's lesser numbers, if you extrapolate, we did put about 10% of the people into hotels, which is a very good number from our side of it. So we're asking for a little bit of help, one, to offset the cost to produce the event. I'm sure all of you, or at least many of you, know the cost to produce event in Monona has gone up, permit wise, park wise, and all of that. But also cost of marketing and staying on top of marketing has significantly increased for us. But we are seeing good numbers with it. So anything you can get us is a huge help. And I think that we can make you proud and continue a great tradition in Monona.
All right. Open it up to questions or comments from commission members.
Andy, I just have one question.
Yeah.
And after the meeting's over, we can do introductions. So I'm Teresa Rodermacher. I'm the new alder assigned to the meeting. Not a problem. I know we've got a big agenda. Let's just plow right into it. I only wanted to ask the name of the speaker. I'm not seeing a face on my screen, and I'm a big note taker, and I would love to jot down a name.
It's Ryan Griesmeyer.
Hi, Ryan. I see you now. I see you now. Thank you. Thank you.
If you want, Teresa, I don't know if you already tried, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's like this little view dial. And you
No, I've got it. I've used Zoom a billion times. For some reason, Ryan was just off my screen, but you're there now. Thanks. No, that's great.
I guess I should have asked Andrew right away. How do you kind of want to do this? Do you want to go present them all or prove one by one, or how do you want to do it? I know sometimes we waited towards the end and sometimes we did as we went. I don't know which process you want to do for this one, for today.
Yeah, good question. Teresa, Mike, others, you guys have a preference or a strong feeling one way or another? Do we want to hear everything and then?
I'm sorry. If I'll mention, I think it was good. In the past, we've gone through and then come back to approve, just so we get a sense of the quality of the applicants, making sure we've got the money that we want to distribute once we've heard them all.
I was leaning in that direction also. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, same.
Okay. All right. And for those that are here that are representatives, you don't have to stick on. We will follow up with you and let you know if you've been awarded to. So, for example, Ryan, after year 2, you need to head off. We can always let you know. Hopefully all our questions are asked here. I did have one question. I know you provided kind of your budget, and it looked like it was a little bit more of a generalized overall budget. So I'm wondering, like, for your advertising, how much did you spend on advertising, and what were the kind of types of advertising that you did?
This year we spent a little over 18,000. We used a ambassador program called BibRave. We put a little over 10,000 into Facebook. And Facebook advertising, we used Google AdWords, And for the first time ever, we dabbled in TikTok, which means nothing to me, but my marketing team addressed that. So
You gotta have
Okay.
TikTok, I'm telling you.
Thanks. All right, any additional questions about the Lake Monona application? All right. We will move on to your second application for the Milkman Triathlon.
all right, so the Milkman is something we brought back this year. We originally did it in 2016. It's a half distance triathlon, so 1.2 mile swim, 56-mile bike, and 13.1 mile run or half marathon. It is starts and finishes in Madison, but because of the gravity of the event, obviously the running portion is very similar to the Lake Monona 20K, and uses the lovely Monona area. In fact, we tried very hard to find a way to produce the event out of Monona. It's just not possible with bike routes coming and going from Monona. But we're asking for some marketing funding again here as well, because we do reach into your hotels, and also facilitate some of the permitting fees that have increased, and the help bringing it through Monona properly. So we're seeing decent numbers. We should have around 1,000 participants. This is again, it's a little less than we were hoping for participants this year. We're hoping to increase that going forward, but because I think we took the 5 or 6 years off from 16, it's kind of rebranding itself and making sure people know who we are.
Questions? I have a quick question for Mark. Mark, with the new event application, et cetera, what is the additional cost to organizations, or does it really vary by org?
I don't have it in front of me, but it's based on the size of the event. So the more people, it's a larger fee involved. I wish I had it in front of me. Do you guys remember?
It's more about collating all the fees together.
Yeah,
So it's more of a one-stop shop kind of application. So instead of having a invoice or fees from parks and one from X and one from police and one from fire, it's all collated together. So the fees appear bigger, but they're all collated together. They are more than what they were in previous years. I can't speak to the park permit fees, but right now we're trying to get them all together on the same permit application. So there's only one overall fee for everybody to pay.
yeah, it's, smaller events have a smaller fee, larger. I think there's this economy of scales fees.
Gotcha.
If it helps, I can speak to it from the Lake Monona 20K side. We went from about 2,800 to 4,400 this year.
Yeah.
Just like you said, and what you guys did was great to be able to incorporate it into one fee process instead of all of them coming different invoices and such. It's a huge help. I think the park side of it probably increased the most for us.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks. Other questions for Ryan on the Milkman?
I have a question. I guess I'm just curious, Ryan, since your event goes through 2 different municipalities, are you able to present the same sorts of requests at the Madison Tourism Commission?
We are, but we don't really get much luck there. What they do is give us more of a direct rebate using a ARES system. So it's a direct rebate from the hotels of, I think what they actually do is give you a discounted rate to the participants and then tack on an additional $5. So for each room night, we get an additional $5 from the rooms for the Madison side of things.
Thanks.
Additional questions, comments?
I have a quick question on this 40% of all participants are from out of state. I'm sorry if you mentioned this. Where'd you get that number? That seems quite high.
It is for this type of event. It is always high. The longer distance events, the marathons, the half marathons, and the halves. We used a kind of a combination from our 2016 numbers was actually about 46%. And the 40% came directly from what is already registered, which we have 750 people already registered for the event. So It's an exact number of the people that were registered using what cities they're from.
Is it a qualifier for another event? So like for marathon?
It is not. No, it's just, I think the reason we see so much from out of state, it is a great training event with the Ironman in September. It's perfectly situated. Those may remember that Ironman had the 70.3 event in June and chose to go to a Saturday, Sunday event in September. Athletes were begging us to put on this race for about 3 years and we chose not to. And Ironman decided to keep their event in September as a 2-day festival style event. So we brought it back kind of to fit that athlete request.
Additional comments, questions? All right, thanks, Ryan.
No problem. Thank you guys.
Ken, you're welcome to stay, but if you need to head out, I understand.
I'll probably listen in for a little bit. I have some work to do anyhow.
Have fun.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks. Next application is Alda Leopold Nature Center, and I'm just scrolling down on the application. So Mark, if you're looking at the agenda, feel free to correct me if this is not the next one.
Yeah, we're probably move one up after a couple here a little bit.
Okay. Alda Leopold Nature Center. So we have Kara here. So welcome.
Hi, thank you. This is our first time submitting an application, so bear with me as I present here. We all know that Monona is a paradise, right? 330 acres of green space and park and 4 miles of shoreline makes us a destination in a very coveted area for a lot of people who know about Monona's beauty. But one thing we hear about at the Alda Leopold Nature Center, and I would like to remind those who may not know or have forgotten that we are on city property at the Alda Leopold Nature Center. This is City of Monona land. We often hear that we're a hidden gem, that folks wouldn't have known about us if their kids hadn't come on a field trip, or they didn't know about us until maybe one of our public events. And we want to change that. We want to make the Alda Leopold Nature Center with our 20 acres of hiking trails that tie into Edna Taylor, a City of Madison conservation area, and perhaps one of Monona's most visible parks, Woodland Park. Altogether, we have about 100 acres of hiking trails. And so we want to make this the destination that it is. And we would do that by expanding our marketing to include the greater Milwaukee and Chicago areas. We have a number of free public events on site every year. One we have in March, it's called Maple Syrup Fest, and it boasts over 1,000 visitors annually. Even this year, when it was cold and the sap wasn't flowing, we had about 1,000 people on site to this free event. And it's an event like no other. Not a lot of people know how to maple syrup or about how maple syrup is tied to nature. Another event that we have is in the Fall Fest, celebrating the change of seasons. And that event also boasts about 1,000 people. And then we, of course, partner with City of Monona Parks and Rec, as well as City of Madison Parks for the Candlelit Snowshoe Hike every year. And all three of these events, coupled with our Holiday Bazaar, holiday sales around in December, really make us a destination for folks coming into the area to visit us. We know right now, because we host weddings all summer long, that we bring people to the hotels by the weddings that we host here. And so we're asking for a little help in helping us increase our marketing beyond the Dane County area to bring people to the area for these public events. We located in Monona, we all know we're obviously very close to Madison. So visitors to Monona can enjoy the urban setting of Madison, but also the natural beauty that is perhaps sometimes underappreciated in Monona. So how do we do this? Well, one thing that we have not done recently is really hone into that relationship or that partnership with our hotels. Make sure that we're partnering with Monona Hotels to provide trail guides and maps and inspire guests to get out on the land and see what's happening at the Nature Center. And in these green spaces, we have living museums. What's happening on the land is changing daily, especially right now in spring as new flowers are blooming, birds are returning for migration. And so we'd really play up all of that joy that you really need to experience on the land. We'd also expand marketing for our public events, the 4 that I just mentioned. to the greater Milwaukee and Chicago areas, as well as we'd reach up into Green Bay. Some of you may know that we have a current partnership with WVMO, and we have friendly phenology updates in which I give a little radio blurb about what's blooming on the land or what's happening. We would expand these to video form as well to get people excited about what's occurring on the land so that they might be able to come out and find it for themselves. We'd also expand our partnership with WPR to reach into UWM markets as well as the Green Bay area and northern parts of Wisconsin, and expand our social media. We have a robust Facebook and Instagram following. I have to say we are not on TikTok yet, but in order to make us that nature destination, I think we would probably have to adapt some sort of TikTok presence to really show the younger kids too what's happening out there too. And one thing that we've also just discussed, possibly starting as a podcast, to talk about what's going on and give people a glimpse into what we do on site. So robust social media campaign, expanding our digital and print campaigns into the larger urban markets, as well as doing some fun videos, showing people what they could find here would be one way that we would expand that and make Monona the destination. We'd also want to highlight and continue to make sure we were promoting events that were happening in Monona so that we could tie into what we were doing with what was already happening here. And just to close it out, Monona is already a Tree City USA and has Bird City status. So let's make it a nature destination as well.
Awesome. All right. Questions or comments?
I have a quick question. So with this grant, would the people who already do your marketing in-house, would they be carrying out all the creative and ad buys or would you contract out any of this work?
I think that depends on how much we would get. I think that if we were able to receive the full 28,000, we would be able to expand out of house a little bit more. But if we weren't granted that full price, then I actually have graphic design experience and do a lot of our graphic design materials in-house, and have learned video editing, and we have a videographer, a close relationship with a videographer. So I think we try to do as much as we could in-house, but if we needed to expand out, especially for marketing to the Chicago and Milwaukee areas, we would do so.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Additional questions, Teresa?
Carrie, for what it's worth, as soon as you started talking, I thought to myself, I've heard this voice before.
Thank
Your
you.
PSAs and VM are fantastic.
Thank you.
And Mike from Avid, if I know you're not on video, but if you ever have any questions or anything, feel free to interject.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any additional questions? I guess I had one quick one, and I know this is the challenge for all organizations is just like, how do we really measure people staying in beds and those types of things? When you do a registration for these events and or, even the individual that greets them as they enter the building, do you already have a system in place, or do you have a concept in mind that would kind of garner that data, if you will?
I think we do from the wedding standpoint, but not currently from like some of the public events. But I am more than happy to incorporate any sort of data gathering into our communications. I'm often the person greeting folks when they get off the free shuttle. So I'm happy to ask people where they're from. And we do get people driving in from quite a distance for Maple Syrup Fest.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I just asked just to kind of have that in the back of our minds as we think about, how are we able to capture this data? Because I know we've tried to work with hotels in the past and they can ask if you're here for business or pleasure, but they can't necessarily drill down as much. But Any additional questions or comments?
Do you have any plans for marketing specifically as a wedding venue? I assume that's
Oh.
like,
Yeah, honestly, not right now because we fill up before we're even ready to open up the next year. So we haven't had to do a lot of marketing around being a wedding venue itself. So if we have to, we for sure will, but at this time, the numbers aren't proving that way.
So Carrie, are you saying that you don't have to because word is already out there and you already
Yeah,
got it?
yeah,
Okay.
we've gotten several.
Okay.
Wedding Wire, I think, is one of Wedding Wire is one of the premier sites, and we keep getting a first place gold badge without really doing much work. So we just have a really great wedding coordinator who handles everyone's needs, and it really has gotten the word out there that this is the place.
And I'll just chime in quickly, partly to Andy's question and partly on the wedding question. The large events we do, those 1,000+ person events, the Maple Syrup Fest, Fall Fest, and the Candlelit Snowshoe are free and don't require registration. So and people kind of come in from many different avenues since we have the trail system connecting us. But it's a question we talk about, Andy, in terms of how to understand where they're coming from and why they're coming from.
Yeah. Thanks. Additional comments or questions?
I just want to clarify if I wasn't clear before, just because we are a hidden gem, the advertisements would a lot of them would just be just campaigns to get people to know us, that know where we are first, and that would be the beginning aspect of it, as an awareness campaign beyond the Dane County borders, because we aren't really known out in Milwaukee.
Sure. Anything else? All right. Oh, Teresa.
All right. Carrie, are the events that you have at Eldo run by your own staff, or are you also a place where events can sort of come in and be without taking your staff time?
Yeah, so we're actually both. Maple Syrup Fest and Fall Fest are run by our staff.
Right.
The Holiday Bazaar is kind of organized by us,
Okay.
and then the partnership.
Yeah.
Bazaar, yes. And then we do also have rentals. So for instance, on Earth Day, there was a large talk here that was put on in partnership with Sustain Dane and a few other organizations. And so that was held here, not necessarily run by our staff. So we do both.
But I'm thinking like, the statewide Sierra Club could have their annual meeting at, Aldo, or I just, didn't know if that was already happening. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
no, thank you. I'm picking up what you're dropping and in terms of marketing to those sorts of things as
Sure.
well.
Any additional comments or questions? All right. Thank you very much, Kara.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Madison Events Production, the Rock and Brews Marathon. I saw, there's Jerry and Robin. You're up next.
All right, so we are similar to the Lake Monona 20K, but we haven't been around as long. We started in 2017, and the fees, like Ryan said, the fees have really increased this year. I think one of the things the Parks Department did was that they added a large event fee, which is $1,000. So that's added onto our normal cost. And then the park fees have about doubled. The police fees, fire fees are all gone up. Obviously, marketing, advertising has gone really high this year. One of the requirements from the Parks Department is if we continue to keep our event, the start and finish in Monona, we're required to have shuttle buses to pick up everybody on the course if there's an incident, whether it be a shooting or a weather incident. So that's a cost that we weren't expecting this year. And it's on a Badger home game, the first game of the year, so it's hard to find shuttle buses. And the ones we have found are just expensive. we're one of the last training runs for the Ironman, which is the following weekend. So we do get a lot of people from around the country in just to do their last training run. And we are one of the last qualifiers for the Boston Marathon. Typically, when it starts falling after our event, then they qualify for 2 years out instead of the following year. So we get people from all over the world that come in just to qualify for the Boston. We have been tracking hotels, and they've been sold out every year, all the Monona hotels, talking to restaurant and bar owners, and they said that they've been busy throughout the weekend from our participants that are in town. And we're also we're part of the 50 States Club, which is it's an online club that the participants do full marathons and half marathons, and their goal is to do one in every single state. So we've got a pretty good following with the 50 States Marathon, and we'd like to use a lot of this money to do our online advertising. We do a lot of social media and Google advertising.
Gotcha. All right. All right, are there questions or comments? Teresa?
Hi, Jerry. You mentioned that you have been tracking, the hotel occupancy, which fantastic. And you mentioned that they've been sold out. You also mentioned it's the same day as Badger home game. So how do you know people are there for your event?
That's just that we don't. We've in the past we've done where we could block rooms, but doing block rooms, they give us a discount, but it doesn't equal like hotels.com or any of those.
Okay.
So people are going outside that discount and booking on their own anyway.
Sure. So I guess that leads me to my next question, more inside my head. I think I know the answer to this. There really is no way for anyone to know why a person is staying at a hotel, because you are not allowed to ask. It's only really, you can see the address where they live. That's about it.
Correct. There was a year, I think it was 2019, the Badger game was moved to Friday night, and we still had all the hotel rooms filled on Saturday night. So
Yeah. Mm,
we can attribute part of that to us.
sure.
Questions or comments?
I guess I just also have a question about social media advertising, and I mean, compared to other forms of advertising, isn't it relatively the least expensive? This is just my complete ignorance. I'm not questioning anyone. I'm just thinking to myself, printing a flyer versus making a TikTok video.
It is if you know how to direct market and find your exact audience.
Right.
But we are reaching well outside of Monona. For some reason, we only had 15 runners from Monona last year.
Right.
So we're not getting a lot from the area, but we are reaching out further. So we know we have to do TV or radio advertising this year to start reaching out to the Madison and Monona crowd.
I understand that there's a cost to TV and radio. I don't understand what the costs are to market using social media like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Maybe that's just my general question. Is it?
Oh, we spend thousands of dollars for all of our events. We advertise. So basically we just set up a budget and we say, okay, we want to spend like $40 a day for like 5 or 6 months. And then we find our audience and we say they need to be from this age range. We usually say like 17 to 60 years old age range. So we kind of pinpoint it around the US. So yeah, a lot of money goes into social media advertising.
And is the reason for there being such an expense just because you need to identify yourself as an organization and there's a different tier structure of fees that go with that? Like, we all know that there's no cost for you and me to post to Facebook. I also understand that I'm just a one-person individual and there's probably a business account that needs to be purchased. There's probably a lot of regulation that goes with that business account.
Yeah,
I'm coming to this purely from my ignorance of how social media expenses are incurred when you are an organization or a business using social media.
So I think what you're talking about is posting on social media as opposed to advertising. So advertising, yes, you do have to, well, you might not have to be a business, but I don't know why somebody would advertise if they're not a business. But you set up an account and then you put a budget together and you put together your ads, your video ads, your photo ads, and then you get charged per click every time somebody clicks on your ad. Whether they click on your ad and they register for your event or they just click on your ad, you get charged. And that could range anywhere from 50 cents to $2 each time somebody clicks on it.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Other questions or comments?
No, no, but I was wondering for the next one, if you could move up to Friends one to the White Horse. I think that would be out of order.
Oh, okay. Before we leave this one, the one thing that I noticed for the use of tourism funds, and one of them is support local charities through the volunteer hours. I don't know if that's something necessarily that we'd want tourism funds going. I know it's probably just if we gave generally 20,000 to, support the event, that some of it might be used for that, but I feel like that piece is a little outside of the scope of, we wouldn't want you giving our money out for other organizations. We don't want to be creating a pass-through type of system. So I think that would be something to think about if we do grant you funds, that our funds wouldn't be able to be given then away to other organizations. Does that make sense?
I think that just got listed as some of our general costs. So what we do is we also have a nonprofit called Run Strong Madison that we pay $10 an hour for all of the organizations that provide volunteers. So that we pay that directly out from Madison Events. I don't think there's been enough grant money to actually offset any of that cost. And one of the new costs this year is because of we had a huge lightning storm last year during the event, and we had to shut down the course and help people find shelter. I think the storm lasted probably about an hour and a half or so. We need to increase our security on the course, and we need to have a much stronger presence, medical presence at the finish line. And since this event's only been around since 2017, we don't have a ton of sponsor dollars. Like I would assume that the Lake Monona 20K being around as long as it has, I assume they get a little bit of sponsor money, and so we don't have the luxury of using that to offset any costs.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yep.
Any others?
Do you have a plan to pursue more sponsorships in the future?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you have a plan to pursue more sponsorships in the future?
We try. We are a small company. My wife and I are the organizers of all the events, and we have a skeleton staff that works all of our events with us, and then we rely on volunteers for the rest of it. So when it comes to putting on a safe event or putting on a well-marketed event or put on sponsorship, we like to market the event and have a safe event, and sponsorship is always on the back burner because we're not skilled in that. So we do have some sponsors from time to time, but it's not our priority.
Got it. Thank you.
Mike, see your hands raised.
Thanks. Yeah, kind of related, and you don't have to go into great detail on this, but under other funding sources, you mentioned grants, donations, sponsorships, and fees. Roughly what percentage are you getting from each of those sources?
You're the only grant. We get nothing from Madison. I don't think their tourism gives out anything to the small events. It's basically Broadfest and larger events get that kind of money. Sponsorship, we really don't have any money coming in from sponsorship. Usually it's like last year we had Ultima rehydration powder. They gave us enough stuff to give away to all of our participants, but it was in kind sponsorship, not dollar sponsorships.
What about I'm curious about the fees the runners pay. What percentage is that of the cost?
So I guess when you break it down, well, I mean, we got to pay for medals, we got to pay for shirts, we got to pay for timing. So I think we have do you remember what the dollar amounts was?
No.
I'm pretty sure it's well over 50% of the cost is taken directly out of the registration fees.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Additional questions, comments? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on. So Mark asked that the White Horse move up. Christine, I know you have a number of applications. Are you okay if we move this one up ahead? And then.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. All right, we will move, so that's request number 12. No, you know what page that is in the packet? I'm scrolling and I can try to find it real quick. Sorry, just scrolling here. Okay, it is page 57 if you have it electronically or paper. All right. We have 3 representatives, Pat, Nancy, and Jean, and this is one that I will recuse myself from voting on as well. But all right, we'll hand it off to Pat. You can.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to apply and for considering our application. The Harry Whitehorse International Invitational Wood Sculpting Symposium is an event that an idea that came up actually from Jean Delcourt, and the event is an opportunity to honor posthumously Harry Whitehorse, who is a Ho-Chunk wood sculptor and also a Monona resident whose work has become fairly renowned. And Jean, who is also a wood sculptor and worked under the tutorage of Harry Whitehorse, had the idea. Jean's participated in a number of these events and shared the idea with Nancy and myself. And this is an event that one seemed like such a unique opportunity for Monona, and particularly for the San Damiano property, which is the ancestral land for the Ho-Chunk people, as you probably already know. But the event is it's scheduled right now from June 14th to the 22nd of 2024. And an event that would involve, the goal is to bring in 11 wood sculptors from both internationally and the United States and Canada. And along with that, also bring, this would involve the sculpting to be happening right on the property. But also during the week, this will be a festival type event that would include a number of different multicultural activities that from music, different arts, an exhibit of the work of the artist, not only what they're doing, a powwow, drumming, foods, just a variety of multicultural opportunities for people to experience on the land. And it just seems like a perfect fit as as we're coming up on 2 years now that the city has been the owners of this land, and we've looked as we look for how to bring people to that property to experience it, learn its history, its culture, know the environment. That it seemed like an ideal opportunity to try to make this happen. So clearly with an event like this too, it would bring people from many different destinations and contribute to the bringing people to stay in the hotels here in Monona. But Gene is here, and he's going to share a little bit about his background and the idea, and Nancy is too. So just to keep it brief, as we looked at the idea, we just thought this seemed like an ideal fit for applying for a tourism grant in the way that it would bring people to Monona, be able to showcase the San Damiano property and our community, and really enrich our knowledge and experience with many different multicultural experiences during the week. So Gene, I'll turn it over to you to add a little bit of information from your perspective.
All right, thank you, Pat. My name is Gene Delcourt. I am a teacher at MG21, actually, the Monona Grove Alternative School. And I had come out of retirement to work there just because the opportunity to teach some things that I really have passion for, it was just a no-brainer, a 40% position. So I'm still a little bit retired, which is cool. But I get to teach all kinds of really fun things. Anyway, back in the 90s, I went to graduate school at the UW and in the art department with the hope of becoming a wood sculptor, and there was nobody in the department that really did that. And so one of the professors, who was a Ho-Chunk man himself, his name was Truman Lowe, suggested I contact Harry Whitehorse. And I had seen Harry, I had met him before, but I'd never really spent any time with him. I contacted him and said, "Yeah, come on over." And so I spent the winter, that first winter, carving little birds for the Audubon show with him. And from there, he invited me to join the team to do snow sculpting all over the Midwest. We actually qualified as a snow sculpting team to go to the Lillehammer Olympics because we won so many events. Harry was a great director. You know, he just sat in a chair and told us what to do, and we'd be creating these images. But the IOC said, "You got to represent the United States." And Harry said, "Well, the Ho-Chunks have sponsored us from day one. If we can't represent them, we're not going to go." And it kind of broke my heart, but I understood. Anyway, from there, I met a man, snow sculpting, who put on a wood carving symposium in Denmark, and we became friends, and he invited me to go. So that was my very first symposium in 1993, and it was very successful. In that symposium, you didn't get paid; you got paid if you sold your sculpture. And that year I sold my sculpture. That was very cool. The next year I went to two in France and that same one in Denmark, and sold 2 of the sculptures. And so this kind of art is really a kind of it'll be kind of new to the United States perception of wood carving. When we think of wood carving here, we think of chainsaw bears and eagles, which are gorgeous. They're beautiful, but this takes the medium to a completely different level, and to me legitimizes wood sculpture as a high art form. And so the artists that we'll be inviting will be those that have proven themselves to be outstanding artists from different symposiums. I've been to 7 myself. And some of the people that I have in mind, if they choose to apply, their work is spectacular. And so I just think that this will really broaden people's perceptions of what wood sculpture can be. And the hope is people can bring small pieces with them, if those that are flying here, that they can have on display and sell. And we're also inviting 5 First Nations artists to come and because it's Harry, it's named after Harry, there should be representation. So there'll be 5 artists from the international community, 5 First Nations artists from North America and South America, and me. Just because this has been my dream for 30 years to put this thing together. And I went to one last year in Germany, and it just really reminded me how much, when I started teaching, I kind of lost my connection to the wood sculpting community. I did sculpture. I actually, if any of you have ever been up to Lac de Flambeau, that giant sculpture in front of their casino, I did that back in 2000. But other than that, my art had been kind of relegated to making violins and smaller things, because my body is old, and hustling big chainsaws on big logs constantly is not so easy for me anymore. So for me, I'll be using more chisels and grinders than I will be using chainsaws for my piece that I have intended. So yeah, so that is sort of me in a nutshell, and I think I'll pass it on to Nancy now. Did I lose you? Is everyone still there?
We're still here.
I lost the screen.
Thanks, Jean. I should say too, is that I think it's mentioned in their proposal, the application, that the co-chair of the event, aside from Jean, is Deb Whitehorse, Harry's wife. And she's actually the one that first brought it up when we were on San Damiano together. And I lit up like a Christmas tree, precisely because, again, not only the event we think is appropriate, given the San Damiano history, but that I just thought it was a terrific marriage to honor Harry this way, and to showcase San Damiano as the Lake Monona destination that it needs to be in the longer term, and that it is even now, and obviously that we're doing it with the Ho-Chunk members of the Ho-Chunk Nation, and including family members of Harry's besides Deb. His niece is involved, and his kids are involved, and Janice Rice is on the committee, who's a distinguished faculty member and librarian from UW-Madison, et cetera. So I sent a budget, a revised, a restated budget this morning to Andy and Mark, and asked to get it to committee members, and I'm not sure or commission members, and I'm not sure if you all got it. And it's not different in dollars, really, slight adjustments in dollars overall, but I recategorized some things to make it easier to digest and hopefully give you more of a flavor of sort of the needs of this event. In our view, the entire project really is about, it exemplifies, in our view, what tourism money is supposed to be all about: bringing people, new people to Monona. We also recognize that this event is more than a year away, and that the ask is significant, but and we will be submitting other grants, as is indicated in the application. Our intention is to reach out to Dane Arts and to the Madison Community Foundation, among others. But we're, in order to really make a commitment to this event in June, we need to have significant dollars up front to be able to make commitments to artists, for them to be able to get it in their calendar, and to be able to develop the event further. And so, we're we're hoping that they'll help us out with the dollars involved. There's a few things I would say about specific to tourism and hotel use and advertising and marketing. And one would be, you know, in the budget, we've identified just the hotel stays that we think are at a minimum for those performers and artists that will be coming in intermittently, if you will, not for the entire event, as I indicated in the restated budget, which I hope you got. Our hope is that the artists themselves, the sculptors themselves that'll be here for all 9 or 10 days, will be staying in homes. And where artists like the drummers or
This meeting is being recorded.
or those being those coming in for the powwow, or the drummers, or the chief who's doing the invocation, or the post members would stay overnight in hotels. So that's where that budget comes from. But we are anticipating again drawing significantly from outside of Monona as far as attendees, and we're estimating 500 people a day overall, and really, I think very conservatively for 180 to 200 nights in hotels here in Monona is part of that. Not to mention dollars going to we won't be serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We'll just be having some food trucks or something on site. So I would expect other establishments, a lot of other establishments on the east side, especially to find this of value. We in terms of advertising and marketing, our budget now, again, with this budget that we've presented, is focused on those items that we really need to be able to focus on in advance, like the program, which will be substantial, to be able to introduce the artists and the quality of the event overall. And so we certainly expect the advertising and marketing budget, and frankly, much of this budget, to expand even further beyond what it is now. But we would expect those advertising and marketing dollars to increase as we identify very specific social media needs and other needs that we have to get the word out, and other media buys that we might do. And we certainly will be incorporating evaluations and other collection tools, data collection tools, to get a sense of who our audience is in the first year, since it's the first year event. And we have an interest in this becoming an annual event. It's in our best interest to figure out who our audience is and where they came from, and build on this first year. And in fact, we know that, quite a few of the expenses that we've listed here might also be, a one-time thing. A small example of that would be that we've, identified money needed for individual tents for the artists, which we're not sure whether we're going to rent them or buy them, but we've talked about the fact that if we're anticipating this being an annual thing, that we might want to buy them, because we know certainly Parks and Rec could use them, and other people could use them, and then we would have them in-house and not have to rent them every year. It's just one small example in the budget. So, in summary, we just think this is a tremendous opportunity to showcase Monona as a welcoming and wonderful community, and to showcase San Damiano as our latest epic showpiece and property in a way that honors its ancestral history. And we thank you for considering this request.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I have a quick question. I'm sorry. So I'm looking at the budget breakdown, and so the request is for cover almost the entire cost of the event. If we fulfill the entire request, is that right? Or,
The cost of the event as far as we've gotten, which is to say that we know that there are gonna be other expenses, but this is such a huge event.
right,
A huge undertaking. As I said, I'm sure that the marketing budget will increase, and I'm sure that there are other elements of the event that are likely to increase in terms of the equipment needed. But yes, we thought we would share the entire budget so that you could see. Not sure why. we're getting-
There we go.
Sorry about that. So we thought we would share the entire budget. As we currently understand it, as you can see, there's a bunch of TBAs, and I'm sure there are other TBAs we haven't even thought of yet. But we thought we'd just to give you an idea of the size and the scope of the event as a 9-day ongoing festival. I mean, if you think about something like Bratfest, it's only 3 days. This is 9 days. So it's a pretty massive undertaking.
Mike?
Thanks. I start by saying I'm inclined to support the application. I think you're right in saying that it fits precisely what the Tourism Commission should be supporting. I think this is the first time we're looking at something that's not till 2024. I just think I'm trying to process that. So one of the questions I had was, I can understand why you'd need funds. You'd need the commitment now in order to get this going.
Mhm.
Do you think you'd need the full commitment now, or would it be possible
That's a
to
great
come back to the
question.
commission again next spring, still a year from the event, once you've got the budget more firmed up and you know if there are other sources, like I would hope the community foundation?
I would hope so too, and trust me when I've said what I've already put some bugs in the ears. And the answer to the question, Mike, is certainly I understand that, particularly for 1 year, and given that it's the event is next year. What would be terrific is if we could get a significant dollar amount now to know that because again, those other applications aren't until later this year, so we won't know until January at the earliest, like for instance, with the Madison Community Foundation, that's too late for the artists. So, but could you split it up into 2 years? Yes, ideally from our programming standpoint, if we knew that we had a significant commitment this year and potentially even that some dollars had been earmarked next year ahead of time, that might be an alternative for the commission to consider. Not that we wouldn't come back with another budget, but even now, if the application were the same timing next year as this year, for us to come back with a brand new application in May for an event that's happening in early June, for dollars, it would be too late. We can certainly, and we can certainly keep the commission apprised as well. So it would be nice to know, at least in some manner, if there was some sort of a commitment,
Yeah, and I just to be clear, I'm inclined to support it. I think that finding a way to say, yes, we are in.
Yeah.
And then once you've got a more firm budget, we can be in again. And I don't know, Andy or Mark, if there's a way to, do that, to say there's earmarking of future funds. I don't know if that's advisable or how to handle it, but it's just a question I would imagine others might have about an event 2 years away and where you're still working on the budget, but I understand why you need a firm commitment now to get going.
Right.
I don't think I'm wrong in making this comment, but for any organization that would apply, if it's for the next year and we have the money now, I guess my blanket statement would be, I don't want to promise money that we don't know is there yet. So if we have it this year, I could foresee supporting the full amount for this year. You know, that would be paid out or approved this year because we have the funds this year. Does that make sense? So that's just my thought. Yeah. No. Additional comments, questions, Teresa?
Yeah, only a comment. I'm just blown away. This is absolutely spectacular. So well done, everyone.
Additional questions, comments? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for considering this.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on back to request number 5, approval of the 2023 bike loop event. And Christine, hopefully, let's see if she's there.
Yep, I'm still here. Oh,
Perfect.
camera, okay, there. Would you like me to just kind of go through, oh, hold on, I'm outside and of course the lawnmower just started. Would you like me to kind of give an overview of everything that we're proposing first and then go into details? Because they kind of dovetail a bit.
Sure, I think that should be fine.
Okay.
And then if you I'd say another thing that would be a question that I have is, you know, if you were to prioritize the projects as well, if you can highlight that within the greater context too.
Sure. So thank you all for this opportunity. Some of you may know I just started with MESVA. So I kind of put the budget together in a couple of weeks based on what we had in our records, and some of that was a few years old. So I just want to kind of off the top let you know that these fees and costs that I have listed in these proposals are on the conservative side, as we're starting to actually confirm all of the various permits and things like that. We're realizing that it's probably going to be a little bit more than what we've put in here, but that's okay. We'll figure out a way to make it happen. So anyway, to kind of start off, the Mendona Eastside Business Alliance puts together every year a few large-scale events that kind of work as tourism events for Monona. And then we also do the Monona area guide printing, and we have the discovermonona.com website. And we also have the Discover Monona app, which I just found out the city now has a Monona Go app. So as far as priorities are concerned, that application for the discovermonona.com and the app, you can just look at renewing the monona.com website and some hours for updates and things like that, because it doesn't really pay to have both of us do apps. And if the city's already has an app that's doing well, it'd probably be smart to just stick with their app. So that's one thing. And we also have 2 partnership applications in here where the money would actually go for us to join forces with other groups. The first one being the Monona Community Media Team. And I'm not sure if Will was able to make it or not. I didn't see him on the list just a second ago, but this is with, I'm sorry?
Here.
Oh, hi, Will.
Hello.
So, I guess some of you may know, some of you may not know. When I started with MESVA, we realized that a lot of our previous resources as far as media was concerned is missing, or, we had various computers and things like that. And apparently this was kind of before a lot of cloud storage. So I have been able to work with a few of the photographers in town to be able to get some pictures for our Monona guide that's with the designer right now, getting ready to be printed. But we don't have that stockpile of images, of videos, things like that to help us promote events in the future. So that is one of the largest reasons why we really want to work with the Monona Community Media Group and the radio station, of course, to just kind of build up that stockpile so that we have things to pull from in the future. Will, do you want to say something?
No, I'll let you go, and then if there's any questions, perhaps I can answer anything that people might have afterwards.
Great. And then so the second large partnership that we put in an application for is with Destination Madison. Because MESBA is kind of in a transition phase right now, and we're kind of just ramping up again after COVID and some staffing changes, we really need as much help as we can, kind of just like bursting out onto the scene. So I've met with the Destination Madison team a couple of times, and they work with a lot of other regional, local tourist committees and chambers. And they have a different, I think Monona is a little bit unique in the way we do our tourism funding. Most chambers kind of get a block amount, and then they, kind of know what they have to work with. So we came up with this proposal where we would be able to utilize their media outreach and marketing, as well as be able to do an app through Wandango. I don't know if anybody has gone onto the Destination Madison site and they have like a beer tour on there. So this app would be about the bike loop. So we'd be able to include more of Monona in there. The Madison team is going to do it anyway, but then it would expand a little bit more into Monona, more into our businesses, things like that. So that's the partnership with them is kind of twofold. One, it's to get in on the the ads and the marketing and the outreach that they already have, but also it's to kind of partner with them and get Monona a little bit more visible on some of the projects that they're already doing. And as I kind of mentioned, the Monona Area Guide, this is an annual printing. It's about 40 pages. It gets mailed out to 8,000 homes in the Monona area, and then another 2,000 are available for distribution at various businesses. And we're really hoping to be able to leave them at the hotels this year, so that they have, as people come into town, they'll have all this information about like what's out there. The parks are all listed. Our businesses are listed, of course, and city resources. The school district did a really nice full page on the different activities for the schools and things like that. So those are the three kind of big ones that sort of umbrella everything else. Should I stop there for right now?
Seems like
Sorry.
seems like you hit on most everything. We can stop there for now, ask for general questions, and then I'm just going to go down the list that we have just to make sure that we have kind of questions covered for each of the applications.
Okay. Yeah, the ones I didn't hit on were the three big public events, but I wanted to get these three, the two partnerships and the Monona Guide kind of out there first, because a lot of that is referenced back in the individual event applications as well.
Does anyone have any overarching questions? Otherwise, I'll go app by app. Teresa?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, not an overarching question.
Okay. All right. Just to make sure we hit on all of them, we'll start with the bike loop. event. Or Bike the Loop event, sorry.
Mhm. Okay, so the Bike the Loop event is going to be July 15th. It will be in Grand Crossing Park. We have the permits and everything already for that. We're working with Buck and Honeys to utilize their downtown lower level space. The windows will be open so people can order food and drink. And I actually just met with them again today to talk about their new grilling area, which will be a lot of fun. So really what we are doing is we will have a few tents in there for vendors and a first aid station. Then we'll have three stations throughout the bike loop, just for water and again, first aid items as people are biking, because we're promoting this mostly to families. So we expect a lot of kids, children to be there. We've talked to Wisconsin Bike Federation. They're going to bring in their, it's not called a tricycle, but basically it's someone can pedal like a little bike rickshaw, so that people with disabilities can also do the bike loop with us. So they will have those on hand for us to be able to use. And we will have a couple, like the Grand Crossings will be the kind of the hub. We can't really control where people get on or get off, but we're just gonna, the promotions will say that that's where the hub is, that's where food and drink is, and we'll have some family-friendly entertainment there as well.
Questions pertaining the Bike the Loop? Okay, we will move on to the chili cook-off.
Okay, the chili cook-off is something that's been around for 30 plus years, I believe. We're actually the director at the Cottage Grove Chamber is actually helping us. Her father is one of the ones that started it. So that's kind of fun. We're going to do a little bit of a historical twist on it, show some pictures of what it was and to what it is today. But basically, for anyone who doesn't know, the chili cook-off, teams join up, put in an application. They pay $200 to get in, but we give them a $100 gift card for groceries and supplies. They start kind of early in the morning, 8, 9 o'clock. And then we're going to open the doors at 11 for people to come in and start doing samples. There'll be an online judging for people so that we have a little bit of a competition. And then in addition to that, we have a beer tent and another larger food tent, just in case we run out of samples for everyone. You can never be too sure of how many teams we're going to have and actually how much chili the teams are going to cook. So just as a backup plan, in the past, they've had additional chili on hand for purchase. And then we will have a couple musicians playing during that time. And we've this is one of the events where I had like a $500 permit fee in my records for previous years, and it's up over 1,000 this year. So this is one that's probably going to be a little bit more expensive than we'd anticipated.
Questions, comments on the chili cook-off?
I have a quick question, and I know you're new, so you may not be able to answer this. I saw in a few of these applications that you mentioned the booking codes. Have you done this in the past? Is this a new thing?
This would be new, so we'd have to see. Is that too loud? I'm sorry. It's really hot in the car. Okay. So this is something new. I don't believe that they've ever actually tracked how many hotel nights resulted from these events, but we're going to try to do something with the hotels where we have a certain booking code, or at least they mention it, as they're booking. But also when people go on to register, there'll be a short little questionnaire with a couple of things. And one of them will say, do you need hotel information? And then that will put them to a hotel, a page with our 3 hotels and their information, contact information. So we won't know exactly if the people that clicked on that link did actually book a hotel, but it will give us a better record than what we currently have.
That's great.
Additional questions on the chili? The Madison Destination, or Destination Madison partnership.
Yep. So that is the large, that's the large one for $10,000. as I said, other chambers in the area actually give them a percentage of of their total block of money that they receive in room tax dollars, and then that's their partnership. So larger chambers pay a little bit more. But since Monona has ours slightly different, we came up, well, Destination Madison came up with this amount based on, kind of an average of what everyone else is paying and the benefits that we would want to piggyback on.
Questions for her on Destination Madison?
And I guess I will also kind of say that part of our marketing budget is for all the other events is kind of tied up in this Destination Madison because we'd be getting all of their advertising and their networking for free. Well, not for free, for the price that for the $10,000. But they have been tracking it, so they can tell you, I put part of their proposal that they sent to me in the application as well. So they have been able to track how many rooms have resulted, how many events have been booked, how many conferences, etc. And they have a really great track record, I'm sure all of you over there.
So Christine, if I'm understanding correctly, I think what you're saying is Destination Madison is sort of like a domino that gets you a lot of other dominoes.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly.
As far as the advertising benefits that would come from that. Okay.
Yeah. Especially since we're kind of restarting everything here at the Monona Eastside Business Alliance. They already have the networks, they already have the exposure, they already have the recognition and reputation. So if we can piggyback on that, it just really helps us.
All right, we'll move on to discovermonona.com and Discover Monona app.
So that is the one that I didn't know we could redo our applications, but this is the one, is at the bottom of our list, basically to renew the Discover Monona website is just under $400 a year. And the rest of that was for the Discover Monona app. And as I mentioned, I recently found out that the city of Monona now has a Monona Go app where all of their board meetings and our EDGER meetings, etc., are already there, and they're promoting it pretty heavily. So that would be one thing that we could definitely just stop, basically. But the Discover Monona website is in partnership on this application. So that's why if you could just maybe separate the two.
And you said that was $400? Sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is the both apps apples to apples, or is it the same type of thing? Do you know? I don't know.
I'm not, I think I don't know actually. Will still in the room?
Yeah, say that again.
And the two apps, like the Monona Go and their app.
Oh, yes. No, that's what I was gonna mention. I don't,
I think they're
I would say that they are very, very different. The Monona Go app is strictly video, so you're gonna experience Monona just through video. It's kind of like our own YouTube, if you will. So I think there still is room if wanted and or needed for the Discover Monona app for sure, because from what I saw, it's definitely different than our app by far.
okay.
Thanks, Will.
Yes.
City stuff.
So our app features all of the businesses, of course, and like when you there's a little map. When you click on a certain business, it sort of popped up, and then if the businesses themselves kind of control what's on their main page on the app. So if they wanted to put a discount for the summer or something, a special offer for a certain period of time, they can go on and do something like that in there. I think the app was started during COVID, and it hasn't really picked up and gotten off its feet, but if it is different enough from the city, or we could maybe even consider combining or something like that, it will need a good push is what I'm trying to say.
So, since you've been working with, Madison or Destination Madison, they have an app which also lists most Monona and Eastside businesses, right? So and probably far more people would use that rather than downloading two apps.
Right.
Yep.
I
And
was just
part of
gonna
the
say-
partnership. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing. So, yeah.
Yep. Part of our partnership with them would be then that some of our smaller Monona businesses that aren't in their chamber or aren't currently subscribing to any of their partnerships, they would also get to be noticed, given some notice and some recognition on their apps.
And I'm sure Travel Wisconsin too lists it all.
Any
Yeah.
additional?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around the differences between these websites and apps. So there's Destination Monona would ultimately be a thing. Is that what I'm hearing? There's already Destination Madison, but I think I'm hearing you say.
Discovermonona.com is the
Discover
website. Mhm. And that's more of a public facing. So when people just Google Monona, that's the one that they usually get. Whereas ours, even though chamber isn't in our name, it is our legal name. Like, we are the Monona Chamber. We just expanded and allow Eastside Madison businesses as well. So our website is focused mostly on our members and, trying to give them some visibility and credibility as people are looking for roofers or, whatever the case may be, lawyers.
But the partnership with Destination Madison also comes with, so there's Discover Monona, then which is a website.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Discover Monona app,
Mm-hmm.
which is very different from Monona Go.
Yes.
But then there's a partnership with Destination Madison. Does that partnership have anything to do with another app or another website?
Yeah, so on their website, they have like 2 or 3 right now where they have sort of like it's scavenger hunt is not the right word, but it's like a trail, I guess is what they call it. So it's their craft beer trail, for example. So they have all the different microbreweries in the Madison area listed on there and a little map, and people can register. And then once they register, when they go to those businesses, they pull up their app and then they get a discount on whatever the business is set up to be. But it's just kind of like a fun, I don't know, it's not bingo card, but you kind of understand what I'm saying, like a scavenger hunt, but it's based on different themes. So the one that we would be, we were looking at doing it ourselves, but it was very cost prohibitive. So when I approached Madison, Destination Madison, they were already thinking about doing a biking one specifically for Madison because this is such a biking rich destination. So it just made sense that we combine with them, give our businesses a little bit more promotion, don't duplicate efforts, basically. So part of the Madison, the Destination Madison, part of it is joining them on that specific app for biking. So it would be all the bike trails in the area. I don't even know how far out they're going to go, but it would definitely include more of it would go into Monona. They were going to just kind of leave it at the Madison city border, but they will now include the Monona side of the bike loop. And it would be able to add a few more of our businesses, the smaller businesses. The other part of the partnership with Destination Madison is to allow us to get in on their marketing efforts that they already have. So it's kind of a twofold deal partnership with them. And I think there's a page on our proposal that we sent out that kind of breaks it down a little bit more.
Yeah, so of the 3, Destination Madison, discovermonona.com, Discover Monona app, it sounds to me like Destination Madison is the most important. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Any further questions on that? All right, we will move on to the Monona Community Media. Any further explanations behind that or questions, comments?
I have a question. So it sounds to me like there were a number of media assets that are no longer in your reach. And you would be asking to dig into the supply that Monona Community Media has. Would you also be asking for storage or just copies of certain assets, like logos and things like that?
Will, do you want to take this question?
Sure. In talking with Christine, I put together a proposal to her of what we would cover, what we could cover this summer for her. And I kind of just outlined summer activities because those always look pretty, those are the fun ones. We certainly could go this winter or next winter, go to Grand Crossing Park and the skating and things like that, which we have a little footage already. But we don't have footage of all these great events during the summer. We just don't. We record like the wife carry and we record events, but we don't record them in a way that's promotional, if that makes sense. So it's a different way, you know, we are documenting the event as opposed to recording from a promotional standpoint. So it would be have us go to a lot of these events, Beer Garden at the Beach, Winnequa Park concerts, Monona Community Festival, Bike the Loop, National Night Out, the pickleball tournament, perhaps. These are things that I listed that I thought would make good for promotions of what Monona has to offer for summer fun and to, you know, come for the day, stay for the night type of thing. So the goal was to just replenish her media supply, MESBA's media supply in both photo and video. So it would consist of, you know, probably Brennan and I going out to an event, or one of us shooting some video and shooting photos in the premise of promotions that we of course could use as well, but that we would give to MESBA as well. And then of course creating some creative concept of a video, 20-30 seconds at most, that, you know, MESBA could utilize, maybe utilize Destination Madison somehow to put it on their website, or Travel Wisconsin. I gave some examples of Travel Wisconsin as kind of some links to how they approach their videos in their 20 seconds. And it just kind of gives a good overview of a park, or Dane County Fair, things like that. So that would be the approach we would take.
Yeah, thanks, Will. I'm kind of building on the social media aspect, and you know, even Destination Madison, Destination Wisconsin, Travel Wisconsin, when we're putting our events on their web pages for larger promotion, a lot of places on there, a lot of the applications for your event has a line for, do you have a video? Do you have a website for it? And we don't have videos or websites for any of this. So we're working on building single page websites within our MESBA website and within the Discover Monona website that would kind of highlight the details and give some previous pictures that we have been able to find. But in today's day and age, TikTok videos, I mean, a 20-second video will grab people so much better than, you know, a website with old pictures and lots of words.
Additional questions or consideration of that?
So to that point, Christine, is there plans for sort of moving away from? So you just made a statement, you know, a short TikTok video is going to be more effective than an old website. So are there plans for moving away from those old websites to the TikTok?
No, you have to have a base. I think any of the marketing professionals will tell you, you still need to have a website for legitimacy and everything else. But within that website, the more links you can link out is also for SEO. The more times you link out and people link into you, that creates a higher rating for your website. It's more dynamic. You'll come up higher on organic searches, things like that. So we're just trying to, use what we have to make the biggest impact, basically.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, of course. All right.
Anything additional? Questions, comments on that piece? All right, moving on to the Monona Area Guide.
The Monona Area Guide, I kind of touched on that already. That is the printed brochure that goes out to 8,000 homes in the area. It's directly mailed from the printer. And so on our application, you'll see the designer, the printing, and then the postage. We do have some hours in there for labor because we have to do a lot of follow-up with our members to get the ads coming in and to work with the designer and to try to get, get it all put together correctly. We have been notified that we were missing some businesses in the last couple of years. So it's just been a lot of time going through our membership directory, going through the Monona City directory, making sure that we have all the information, making sure that it's updated and current and all of that good stuff. And right now the designer has, I would say 75% of it done. We're just waiting on a few extra pages and a little redesign on a couple of the city pages, like the Parks and Rec page, things like that. So yeah, that's what that is.
Any questions on the Monona Area Guide? All right, I think that is the last of your applications, Christine.
Did we go over that craft beer, cheese and chocolate application?
We did not.
Oh, sorry. Did I miss that?
So the craft beer, cheese, and chocolate pairing is an event, I believe maybe 2019 was last time MESBA held that. And it's like one of the more popular events when I first took over and was kind of interviewing people and getting to know people. Pretty much everyone mentioned that event as being one that they remembered the most fondly. So we are going to do that again because of some issues with liquor licenses these days. We are doing it at the Goodman Center, and they will have to serve all of the beer and alcohol wine that we want to do. So it won't be quite the same as it was in the past, where there was like a beer, cheese, and chocolate at one station, but we'll have little signs kind of putting it all together. And then it is going to be a fundraiser. It's going to be in November. So it'll be a holiday fundraiser as well for our neighborhood food pantries. And then that is also one that it's on a Saturday. All of our three large public events are on Saturdays. So we're kind of marketing it as, come for this event and spend the weekend in Monona.
I'm just curious, why Goodman Center again? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the Goodman Center not only had the dates available, that was one of the hardest things, is finding a venue that actually had dates that were available, but also they were the ones most flexible with us as far as bringing in our own food and bringing in our own alcohol, or working with us on an alcohol menu, I should say. I think, I don't know if this recently changed, but quite a few of the venues that we contacted, even in the Monona area, due to insurance issues, we had to use one of their vendors for food if we brought in food, whereas the Goodman Center will let us bring in our own food.
So what about this event is particularly Monona focused?
Yeah.
So what they have done in the past is kind of highlighted our members that we have a couple of chocolatiers, we have a couple beer places. So we're going to be working with Monona Center, or the Goodman Center, to buy those beers and those wines. And then I guess just highlighting as many of our businesses that kind of fall into this category as we can. And then businesses also will be the ones hosting the different tables of the pairings. So it's also being billed as a networking event. This is not necessarily a family event. This will be for adults.
I'm just curious, being new to this commission, I'm curious if there are sort of requirements. I mean, clearly there aren't. You can host an event outside the city of Monona and still have it be considered a Monona event.
I think the guidelines that we're kind of bound by is that it's getting heads in Monona beds. Monona hotel beds.
Or Airbnbs,
Or what?
or Airbnbs type
Oh,
rentals.
sure. Any other questions or comments?
Christine, is this an event that must be held indoors in the winter? I guess there's not much that can be done about this next event, but it sounds like such a fantastic event that you'd want to do it. But I'm just trying to run through my head, like, where could you do it in the city of Monona? You know, it'd be a little more of a challenge.
One of the things we actually had looked at doing it in the summer, but we're running into, if we
Right.
want to do it on the weekend in the
Right.
summer, we're running into weddings.
Right.
So that's why we,
Maybe
and I
other-
also I wanted to have a fundraiser for our food pantries earlier in the year, because I know in the summer they're kind of forgotten and they do get a lot of donations and attention, you know, at the holidays. So it was not the most ideal, but if we do this in the future, and I have a year to plan it,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
hopefully we can reserve a weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate goal in the future.
Mhm.
I think we also touch on the general constraints of Monona. We don't have a lot of indoor event facility space, especially if you're looking above 100 people. I think Buck and Honey's is the largest at 140. So that can serve alcohol, I should say.
Yeah.
The high school is always ready and willing, but. All right, any additional questions for Christine? All right, we will move on to number 13, which is bike wayfinding stations. Brad's had to listen to everything else, so.
All right, can you guys
you're
hear me?
up. Yep.
Perfect. We installed the original bike wayfinding signs in 2013, and since then, a consortium of different entities, including Dane County Parks, Madison, Fitchburg, Verona, Middleton, Windsor, Wanakee, and the city of Monona have gotten together and put together a plan for new bike wayfinding signs for the entire bike network, so that when you're going to and from a city, to like from Madison to Monona, the Lake Loop signs all stay the same. And so you know you're on the Lake Loop, and then we would put our logos on the new signs so that you know once you're coming into the city of Monona that you're in Monona on the loop, or on a different bike route in the city. This is very helpful, especially considering that biking has become a very popular recreational activity, especially with e-bikes now readily available all along the loop, including in Monona in 2 locations, that it becomes a lot easier for people who don't typically bike to get around the city on bike or on bikes. And then obviously for those visiting, the bike wayfinding would help them get around, make sure that they understand that they're in the city of Monona. A lot of people mistake Monona for Madison. And we don't want to do that. So it'll help direct people to the riverfront, to our parks, especially our larger parks. Help them find, if they're here for an event, for instance, help them find their way around as well. So yeah, I'll take any other questions.
Do you have examples of what these signs are?
I do.
And how many?
If you give me just a second, I can find those.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
There we go. Alright. I have to share my screen. Do I have control?
I do not.
Think so. Try it now.
Can you guys see that? Oh, wait, sorry. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a guide just to show which locations that we would be suggested to put new signs at. Some of these exist today, but we would update them, and then I will open, if I can find it. Sorry, my computer's going really slow. This probably has the best. Can you see the design assemblies?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's an example. Right now, we don't have any directional signs. All of our signs, all they say is that it's the lake loop.
Right.
And then that it's a bike route. So the goal would be to update those signs so that they have our logo above them. And then to add the wayfinding information below the sign. The other issue that we have with our bike wayfinding signs is that in 2013, they decided to minimize the amount that they were going to spend by not buying a lot of new poles. And so they started putting the signs on regulatory sign poles. So for instance, they're on poles with speed limit signs or no parking signs. Technically, that's illegal. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So the goal with this project and another added cost is that we would have to pull the lake loop sign off those poles, get a new pole, place it, and then put all the wayfinding information on it. So yeah, that's basically what the project is. And it helps support, people visiting and especially biking. It helps promote biking, safe biking especially. So that's the purpose of the request.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad.
Yep.
I love these signs. So on the previous graphic that you were showing, so it seems to me like on the left, there's almost like 5 different signs going on one pole, right? So like, for example, Monona would be at the top, the name of the trail, and then are the things, the signs that you have circled in red square, are those just interchangeable? Like if a historic landmark, for example, that we wanted to direct people to a historic landmark or an effigy mount or whatever, we could add another little green rectangular sign.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as there's enough room, these have to be a certain height.
Right.
Clear traffic and stuff like that, but yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
So interesting. And then could you go down one page? You just, So on this page, I see signs that have like almost little icons, like Liberty Park. What are those little icons? Or Stewart Lake, or, oh, it just says like there's a bathroom, there's a, got it. Okay, got it.
Yep. And we can do, especially the signs that are like right next to or close to a park where.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
For instance, like Fireman's Park, a lot of people don't know that exists, that shelter.
Right. Right.
Winnetka Park, the shelter there, the bike repair stations, the B-cycle stations, different things.
Mhm.
Direct. We can direct people better in the city. Right now, a lot of people biking that aren't from the area aren't exactly sure where the loop goes sometimes and what is.
Mhm.
And so the goal would be to better direct them to, especially if there's weather or something like that, to a safe spot. So. But also
So
to
nice.
like our city centers, like the riverfront,
Right,
Grand Crossing Park,
right.
those kind of destinations.
I mean, a lot of times people would have an app on their phone for wayfinding, but I can see how this would be so valuable. Like, let's say I want to go down to, an event at Grand Crossing that MESBA is hosting, right? So we're helping people get to their event by putting these signs out there.
Yeah, same
So
with
nice.
Don Damiano right now.
Right, right.
Signs for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, different other things like the festival is at the city center.
Right.
We don't
That's
have any
wonderful. Yeah.
link loop finding or wayfinding signs to get
Yep.
to. So,
Yeah, really nice.
Any additional comments for Brad?
and I can stop my share. There you go.
All right. Thanks,
All
Brad.
right,
We have Monona Festival, Mark.
Yeah, so I'll take this, representing the city for this. So I know we applied for this last year too. So Monona Festival is one of the largest festivals, the largest festival in Monona. Again, I don't know, I think it gets up to at least 30,000. Fireworks are heavily watched in Monona. Actually now it went from 2 days to 3 days. So what's happening is it's causing a lot of overtime costs for police and fire departments. You have to bring extra fire police in just to monitor, make sure it's a safe environment, for the EMS. You have to have another location for the regular ambulance and one at the festival. So we have another shift on hand, and they have a lot of paid on call volunteers there at the same time. So this is us requesting to monitor, protect the event, to cover our costs of the extra overtime involved. As you know, there's a lot of, I put like 300 hotel rooms. There's a lot of people come back, a lot of alumni. I think what I've recently found out, it's kind of started with the alumni to bring people back. So, a lot of people come back, they rent Airbnbs for a couple of days, they stay at the hotel, so they are used for this event. So that's all I kind of have on that.
Questions for Mark? All right, seeing and hearing none. Last but not least, to listen to everybody else, so they've been primed and ready. Fire Chief, you want to kick it off with the training and equipment?
Absolutely. Thank you all. And actually, believe it or not, I actually enjoyed sitting and listening to it. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Fire Chief McMullen. My name is Jerry McMullen. My cohort's behind me here, the police chief, Ryan Cheney. So what this is designed for is to train our staff to properly respond to incidents that are starting to become far more common. Unfortunately, what triggered this, in my mind anyway, was the close to home was the walk shop parade disaster that we had a couple of years ago. 3 weeks ago, we hosted a Nevada State Trooper who was present at the Las Vegas Music Festival shooting a couple of years ago that killed 64 people, 72 people, injured 800. And that was a untrained guy with guns from a high place. And he did all that damage by himself before they could neutralize him. What we found is we're simply not equipped for it. We're a small department. The police department is a small department. We took it upon ourselves as a fire department, myself and one of my full-time staff, Went down to Ohio about a month ago, went through a fairly intensive weekend that I still feel, even today. 24 hours of straight work doing joint exercises on how to best prevent people from dying from active, not just active shooter, but active threat or violent incident, mass casualty incidents. And from the police side, they get a lot of training on how to neutralize problems that crop up. From the fire side, I go back to Columbine, back in the years that I started. When I started the fire EMS, we were told to just sit in our trucks. Wait until the police department clears the scene, and then you can go in and start helping people. What we found is that's how people die. Is they're bleeding out before we can go in and help. So we started to pivot as a county. Law enforcement's been pivoting faster than fire and EMS for active shooter incident management. But still, what's being taught in a lot of areas of the county is, well, just sit outside and wait, and they'll bring people to you. So what we did down in Ohio, I say about a month ago, is called Rescue Task Force training. Our fire department and EMS staff are going to be trained using this training to be able to go in right behind our law enforcement partners. We've already bought the equipment, so just so you're aware of that. We've had a lot of donations. We got a grant from a local pipeline company of $5,000, along with a couple of donations to be able to purchase all the equipment. So we have it. You'll see us next week at the Memorial Parade. We'll actually be wearing the equipment. We're actually standing up a special event team specifically for things like the Waukesha Parade. So we're prepared. We have tourniquets, we have chest seals, we have the equipment should something bad happen to be able to act. So what we're looking for is to bring the same company that punished us for a weekend, to bring them up here. We did a lot of research on our companies. There's 5 or 6 around the country that provide this type of training. This one was not only highly reviewed by folks that have gone through it, it was highly reviewed by other companies. But these guys are the best in the business. So after going through their training, I have to agree. The price is actually comparable to the other companies around the country that provide this. This will be a one-time thing. It's not an annual thing. It's something to get all of our department trained and equipped to be able to respond to all these wonderful events that we just sat for the last 2 hours listening to. That we have all these wonderful events in the city that, to be very frank, we're simply not prepared to respond to. I don't have the supplies. I don't have the equipment. With this particular program, none of this stuff is expirable. It all lasts. We're building the kits to, we'll be the best prepared city in the county. And what I don't want is to know that we need to do this and come back after something like Waukesha happens and said, yeah, we should have done this. Because we promote these big events within the city. Our Memorial Day parade is the biggest in the state, as far as I can tell from talking to Kelly, and the longest running. So when we have the ability to prepare for stuff like this and be vigilant from the fire and EMS side. So this includes our police partners. It's a closed event, so it's just our department. So the training stays within Monona. The instructors would stay at, my guess is Avid, because we've got thanks to Mitchell, we have a good rate at Avid. The total cost will likely be lower than that. Again, we try to be conservative with it because of overtime cost. I don't know at the end of the day what it'll actually be. So this is the highest it would be. In talking with the organizer of the company, they may very well share hotel rooms and bring that cost down. There's certain things that I just don't know until after we have the event here. The costs at the top of the budget line item are set costs. So the cost of the training itself is $449 a person. The cost of the meals, they bring their own chef with, they do all the meals on site. They call him a chef. He's an ex-military guy. The meals are good, but they do it on site so you don't waste time doing a lunch hour where people have to go buy lunch. They provide everything in-house. So it would be either 2 or 3 days. It might be a very long 2 days or a little bit shorter 3 day, depending on how our scheduling best works. But we'd like to have it this summer and get everybody trained. The side benefit of this beyond tourism is It gives us the ability to react to school shootings. We just had a bank shooting down in Louisville just a few weeks ago. We just had another one down in, was it New Mexico? We had one in Texas. There's been 5 or 6 mass shootings in Milwaukee this year already. That are not necessarily terrorism related or something like an active shooter, but you're still, right now, my ambulance can handle 2 patients. That's it. That's all the supplies and equipment we have, which is standard for the county. It's not a slight. We just don't have the equipment for a large scale event. And with these big events that we host and adding more, which I think is wonderful, all these events are pretty cool here. I just want to make sure that we're the best prepared for it.
Questions and comments?
Jerry, just because of its, multi-day nature, obviously that means overnight people are staying overnight in hotels. Isn't there also sort of an icebreaker component, like on the first night, like a reception, just to like get people to come in, maybe like one, okay. All right.
This particular, again, I'm being political with some of my words. These folks are very dedicated to what they do.
Yeah.
They're not here to mess around. They're not here to drink. They're here to put in 16, 18-hour days. They're all FBI, Secret Service, active medics, SWAT medics. These are all very highly experienced folks that are not here to mess around. They're here to train. And they made that very abundantly clear when we came down to Ohio. To be politically correct about it. They were very, very clear what we were there for.
Yeah, and in no way did I suggest anything different.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I think I might be confusing it with the fire ops. Even. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And you're not wrong. Usually when you get fire and EMS folks together, especially with police folks.
Just to meet one another, just to.
Icebreaker event, but.
Yeah, an icebreaker, yeah, that's all.
In this case, because it's a closed.
Yeah.
It's a closed class, it's all folks we're already very familiar with.
Yeah. Very good.
Additional
Really?
questions or comments?
Chief, you were the one that sought this out, right? I mean, you were the one that sort of like coordinated this to come to Monona.
Yeah, I did the research
Wonderful.
and I always work on the back end, but I'll give credit to the full timer, the one with me was our newest full-time firefighter medic, Katie Walker. She's very passionate about this type of fire and EMS training. So she did all the research. I just do the funding portion of it all. And I went down because I wasn't willing to put this kind of cost on it unless I was attending it myself. To make sure the training is what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Can I just weigh in briefly?
Absolutely.
Just from the police standpoint, we've identified this as a need. We train regularly for active shooting. We tabletop, we do a lot of demonstration exercises, etc. Nothing full scale that we've done in a very, very long time, even in my time in Madison, just because of how many resources and it's very costly to do something like this. But we don't train enough with the fire department. And Jerry's right. The new model is that with us as their security guards, in essence, when we go into these very volatile situations, we have a team of officers who are trained and equipped to identify the threat and neutralize the threat. Then immediately following is this rescue task force concept, because we have to start saving lives. And I'm going to be very blunt, and I know Jerry was very, very blunt for me. So just bear with us a little bit. It's what we do to try to help make sure that we have safe events. But cops are literally stepping over people, right? Because we still have that active threat that we need to address, or else people are going to continue to get hurt and or die. What we need to do a better job of, and why I really appreciate Jerry's leadership here, is because he's right. We don't do enough with our fire department locally here. We would be the only agency that I know of in our area, and I sit on the Dane County Chiefs Association, that will be doing this, but it's been talked about for some time, because it's been very cost prohibitive for a lot of agencies to do this. We would be the only ones that were actually training with our firefighter personnel who we already have a close working relationship because we share a building. And to do these exercises with them and to learn from the folks that have seen it, done it, and teach it throughout not only the nation, my understanding is all over the world. So Jerry came back and we've had many meetings about this topic to figure out if this is worthwhile, and we both very much agree that it is. So thanks for the consideration. That's just from my end, and we're here for questions.
Any additional questions? All right. Hey,
I had
nothing.
more of a point of clarification for you, Andy, or for Mark. This is the first time we've had such significant money to give away, and I think we had some initial talks a few years ago about the amount of discretion the commission has in grant, like how, being that this will be one of the largest grants we've ever given, I'm supportive of the concept. The chiefs were incredibly convincing. It's not a question of that. Just trying to understand the commission's discretion on, again, what I would think is kind of it's not the sponsoring of the parade, it's actually paying for training so that we can respond to, it's a little bit different than our typical request. It's like, are there rules in the legislation? Do we have to be careful about anything like that?
Yeah, that was a similar question I was going to ask Mark.
Yeah,
If
I should ask Bill Cole about this one. They probably should ask their attorney. Because technically, heads and beds, I mean, there's trainers coming, so they're putting heads and beds there.
Yeah.
As overall, I would have to check with Bill Cole for his legal opinion on it.
Okay. So we could approve with I'm blanking on the word I'm looking for, but with the caveat that like Bill would have to sign off on our ability to utilize it this way.
You're right.
Why? This is an event like every other event hosted in the city of Monona, like all these other events that we've listened to. It's bringing people into hotels.
Well, maybe that's a question I was trying to understand, and maybe it's in here, and forgive me. I see the projected hotel stays on 100.
I mean,
Is that just the trainers coming in, or is that?
3-day event for all those people coming in from out of the city of Monona, coming in to visit our city.
Well, it's just for our staff, but it would be.
Yeah, I thought it was for staff.
Oh, I misunderstood. You're right.
Right.
Even so, I mean.
Oh, I'm 100% supportive
Yeah.
of it. But I mean,
Yeah.
I had a similar kind of just gut reaction.
Sure, like,
Mike
will we
did,
get in trouble? Yeah, okay.
Because
I don't know the statute inside and out, but I'm, from how other municipalities use this kind of funding, it's fairly up to the discretion of the committee, right, or the municipality themselves. I've heard a very straight, funny use of it, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it seems far more applicable.
And if there's something that I would rather get my wrist slapped or my hand slapped with by the Department of Revenue, this would be, I'd die on this hill.
Exactly, exactly.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
as someone who has kids in the schools here.
yeah. Are there any more questions for the chiefs pertaining to this one in particular before we kind of tackle everything? And I do understand that this is now running into our second hour, so hopefully everybody is able to kind of stick with us at least, and then we can see how long this rest of this takes. All right.
Andy, I'm sorry to tell you that I cannot stick with you any longer.
Oh, okay.
I am bumping into my next meeting at 2:30 that I have to travel for.
Okay, okay. Let's see here. Well, so let's, how many more minutes do you have? And I don't want to rush anything.
I know. What's,
I was gonna. pick
thinking
off
back to
kind of
that
low-hanging
3,
fruit.
go ahead.
I was just gonna pick off some of the low hanging fruit of the ones that we could kind of maybe approve or consider real quick.
I see. Just to give people an immediate feedback on the ones that we know.
I would turn leave and I would look at the White Horse one and the nature center one, because we might not have a quorum, or if it's a close vote, so
Oh,
you might want to take care of those two right away.
Sure, and I'll have to, whatever, step back for all the Mesba ones too. Okay, let's tackle the Aldo Leopold one quick, if that's okay.
so, okay, so is the intent to make decisions on all of these today?
That was the hope, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the intent was to review them today.
Well, and I wondered, given that we've just digested an awful lot, if it might be advised, as hard as it is to schedule meetings and because Teresa's got to leave, instead of rushing, maybe.
Yeah, that's
At the risk of screwing us up, because we got to schedule another time.
Is there another next Tuesday, noon hours, that works for everybody, same time?
Yeah, can we all quickly look at our calendars, maybe? Maybe that's the best use of our time here.
Sorry for
yeah.
everybody waiting.
Yeah, noon to 1 is my lunch hour. Otherwise, I'm eating into my vacation time. I'd like to keep it after 5 or from noon to 1. I can do that.
I think we could probably do the decisions within an hour.
Yeah.
I can do next Tuesday,
Sure.
noon to 1.
I can also do noon next Tuesday.
Fantastic.
Okay, noon
I
next
mean,
Tuesday.
but
Christine,
if
does that
you-
work for you?
What was that?
Oh, I was just making sure Christine in the room,
Okay.
that worked for her.
And I mean, if you need to like solicit our top 3 immediately, I am prepared to do that before I leave, if that would be of any help.
And I just looked at my work calendar. I cannot do next Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm gone all day. All right, if we can just all promise to respond by email, otherwise you guys are gonna be pestered by me. We are gonna put out a variety of dates in the next, even maybe the rest of this week to see if there's a lunch or something noon to 1 that works. So I'll work with Mark to send out a doodle, and then if everybody could respond to that doodle even by tomorrow morning, and then we'll have a good idea of where we'll be. Does that work?
Yeah, that's great. And Teresa, I would just share that this is a good problem to have. We've never had so many good applications. So usually it takes us about 20 minutes to do this.
Sure, yeah.
Just remember
That's
too, there
fantastic.
also is another, we do this kind of twice, this year's a little unique, we're doing it twice, so.
Yeah.
There'll be more applications later on, it's consideration.
Yeah, I would appreciate more time to review these applications. There are a couple that I already made I mean, I already know, but for the most part, that's not true for all of them, so.
Okay, all right, so we will, sorry, I'm gonna pull up the agenda, I guess, to see if there's anything else. All right, discussion on future upcoming meetings. You're gonna get a doodle poll in the next, can we do like the next 30 minutes? We'll have a doodle poll out, Mark.
Yeah.
Just almost every lunch for the next week and a half or something, just put all those on there from noon to 1. And then we'll
Okay.
see what's out there. And then we all promise to get back to you before tomorrow morning at 8 AM. And then Mark will tell us what dates there is a majority, and hopefully there's one that all of us can meet. All right. I will take an motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you so much, everybody, for your time.
Thank
Thanks for all
you.
the
Thank you.
representatives that are still listening, even after all that time. So thank you so much.
Nice meeting everyone. Thank
All right.
you.
Bye.